folks, I hope you all are doing great and having an awesome day. I've been having a great year myself, just been busy working, raising a family, and partnering closely with my beast to bring you horrible tales of true crime. I am Ira, your host, and I want to thank you for joining me for episode 10 of The Dark Side. Today, we will be discussing the bizarrely savage murders of Russell and Shirley Dermond. Before jumping into the story, I would like to thank you for your reinforcement. I have been enjoying our interactions throughout the year and the support. Second, if you have a case you wish for us to review, please contact me. Feel free to message directly via Facecase, Twitter, and the typical social media hotbeds. I firmly believe the most interesting of situations and stories will originate from you. Be warned, this video may contain imagery and subject matter that some may find to be unsettling, so viewer discretion is advised. Our story begins in the great state of Georgia, centered around a gated golfing community known as Great Waters, which is off of Lake Oconee. For those unfamiliar with this location, Lake Oconee is roughly an hour and a half outside of Atlanta and about an hour west of Augusta. Great Waters appears to be a stand-up area as there's virtually no crime at all behind its gates. Once in a while, there are reports of home alarms going off, but they are normally always false alarms. Sometimes people report something missing from inside a vehicle, but that is about as extreme as it gets in this sleepy, retired community. The subjects of our story are A. Mr. Russell Dermond, who was 88 years old when his life abruptly came to an end, and his wife of 68 years, a Mrs. Shirley Dermond. Russell was a native to New Jersey and eventually made his home in Georgia. He was a veteran of the United States Navy and served in World War II. Shirley Dermond was a New Jersey native and was by all accounts a loving housewife. Both appeared to be non-controversial. They lived very sedentary lives. They went to church, Miss Dermond played in a local bridge club, and both walked on a routine basis. On Tuesday, May 6, 2014, after the couple hadn't shown for a neighbor's Kentucky Derby party 3 days earlier, concerned friends, a husband and wife unit, stopped by the pristine, wooded subdivision where they lived. Upon arrival to the Dermonds' 4-bedroom, well-appointed home, they found the back door unlocked. The husband and wife called out to the Dermonds and walked into every room in the 4,200 square foot estate. Nothing was found to be out of place. The garage was another matter. Behind the couple's Lexus SUV and their Lincoln Town Car was Russell's headless body. Towels had been placed around the corpse to keep blood from draining under the garage door and flowing down the driveway. Shirley was nowhere to be found. The couple, aghast, called 911. Over the following week, cadaver dogs were brought in and an extensive search was initiated. A canvass of the ground showed nothing out of place. The house was immaculate. It looked, according to law enforcement, like it had been staged by a real estate agent. Apparently, Shirley kept a very clean home. The only imperfection was the Dermond's unmade bed. An unfinished USA Today crossword, which Shirley did regularly, was on the kitchen table. There was no signs of a struggle. It became obvious to law enforcement that the decapitation had been done post-mortem. If you've ever seen an arterial wound, it spurts blood everywhere, and that was not found there. It was a very clean cut just above the collar line. Whoever did it knew what they were doing, and it wasn't done in a frenzy. Later, a gunshot residue was found on Mr. Dermond's shirt. It is believed he was most likely shot in the head. It is also believed that his head was taken, not as a trophy, but because it contained evidence, perhaps a bullet, which was never found, or DNA from the killer or killers in the form of blood or tissue. At this point, the sheriff and his deputies had a dead husband and a possibly abducted wife on their hands. Scenarios bounced around like Shirley had been kidnapped. Shirley had something to do with her husband's murder. Shirley was already dead, but just not in their house. Following the discovery of Russell's body, divers dragged the lake area behind the Dermond's property. The cove surrounding the Dermond's dock was also dredged. the State Department of Natural Resources sent down the most sophisticated underwater equipment available at the time. It was said that a Coca-Cola can on the bottom of the lake at 60 feet could be seen. For the next 10 days, the local sheriff held conferences and questioned the couple's 3 grown children and their neighbors. The couple's 3 adult children, Keith, Bradley, and Leslie, were not only questioned, but each was separately given a polygraph test. All passed, all had alibis, and they were nothing but cooperative. A week and a half passed before a fisherman discovered Shirley's body in the lake. By the water, the spot she surfaced was about 5 to 6 miles from their house. She had been weighed down with concrete blocks that were bound to a rope around her legs. She had not been decapitated and appeared to have been killed by a blow to her head. Decomposition and expanding gases had sent the corpse to the surface. From a boat, Miss Dermond's bloated body was heaved from the water. She was far beyond the search area that had already been dredged. The 5-foot, 2-inch woman's body had swelled to twice its weight from being submerged for so long. The coroner would later determine that she had been dead when she went into the lake. The cause of death was confirmed to be blunt force trauma to the head. Now the case was a double homicide, and the investigation turned to who would kill an elderly couple in such a strange and heinous way. For 3 solid months, the sheriff's department worked on nothing else. During that time, the house was scoured inch by inch. It was kept as a crime scene. It was processed and worked on multiple times. Investigators looked for fingerprints and used luminol to detect fluids without much success. It is believed that the couple knew their attackers and more than one person was involved, simply because of all the moving parts in their killings. There was no evidence of a break-in, as their jewelry was still in the home. There were surveillance cameras at the entrance, but an electrical storm had knocked them out at the time of the Dermond murders. Anyone with a boat could have pulled up to the couple's private dock, covered by a green canvas awning though. 5 years later, little progress has been made. Russell's head has yet to be located, and law enforcement is just as confused as they were when the bodies were discovered. According to officials, there's nothing to go on. There's nothing at all. It doesn't make any sense to us for Russ's head to be cut off and for her body to be dumped 6 miles away. We've done everything possible. We've even had the FBI in to do a profile. Theories have run rampant over the years. Theories include the Dermonds were in the witness protection program, and whoever they crossed had sent assassins after them. Someone suggested a mother alligator had attacked Mr. Dermond in his garage and then dragged Mrs. Dermond into the lake. Another tipster said Mr. Dermond was being serviced by this prostitute in Athens who was murdered by her jealous boyfriend, who then came after Mrs. Dermond. It ranges from the totally absurd to something that might be credible. There are currently no suspects. The Dermonds had no known enemies, although the sheriff said their deaths at least seemed to be the handiwork of a vicious enemy, or at least someone with such a capacity for savagery. Law enforcement has not given up, and we are not going to give up either. Someone, somewhere, knows who did this, and all they need to do is pick up the phone. Submit all tips and leads to the Putnam County Sheriff's Office at 706-485-8557. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the horrific murders of this husband and wife. Make certain to like and subscribe. Do me a favor and share this video while you are at it. It really helps, folks. Make certain to follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Links are in the description.